make a move and the bunny gets it.
I said, put the bunny back in the box. Why couldn't you put the bunny back in the box?
Mission control to Vic. Mission control to Vic. Vic, are you ready, man?
Yeah.
Tell me you can trust me.
Don't forget our intel. Something about her is not normal.
You can trust me. You love me. You want to make me happy.
I know your hands are filthy. And I know about your tricks. The only thing I don't know is what you are.
You die for me.
But I'll figure that out.
Don't disappoint me.
Once I haul you out of here.
Who did you lose to make you this angry?
Not human. What are you?
I'm so much more.
Roar. Roar.
Colonel Ironside's here. 200 years I stood in the gap, fighting those who would harm my country. It was my honor, my sacred duty, so help me God. 9 times they took my life. 9 times I stood back up and made them pay. The freedom fighter and I could handle anything, but someone betrayed me. I was ambushed, made mortal, rendered powerless, and retired. They passed an amendment and made me a civilian before I left the hospital. For 50 years, I watched my country change. Lost its work while erasing me from history. The day I quit my job, I powered up and discovered they lied about that too. I'll remind them of freedom. I'll remind them of duty. I'll remind them of their oaths and who they serve. I'll remind them while I'm shoving it down their throats.
Psychically, I'm very well endowed.
I wanna know what you're thinking. There are some things you can't hide. I wanna know what you're feeling. Tell me what's on your mind.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Gen X Files. I lost it for a second. I almost said Cryptids and Conspiracies, so that was the last show I did. Hopefully the same thing that happened to that show won't happen today, but we'll find out. But anyway, got a few active commenters already. Woke Breaker said first. Good for you, man. Mr. Tank says, I can't do my usual greeting because of the language filter. Scalawag is not really a bad word. So anyway, Yeah, I gave you a wrench, man. You're wrenched. And so go ahead. Oh, somebody said we're live. Somebody you'll see very shortly. Yeah, there you go. That might have been a mistake. That may have been a mistake. Time will tell. Anyway, John's Lone Box. Hey, what's up, man? I know you probably got like 30 shows going on tonight, so thank you for stopping by. Okay. So that was that was it. Okay. Got it. I forgot you're the one that says that. But anyway, so we're gonna bring on my good friend from over there, Frost Comics, Mr. Jared. Welcome to the show,
everyone.
my friend.
Thank you for having me on once again.
No problem. Thank you for slumming with me in my 608.
What's 31 subs between friends, right?
Yeah, what is it? What is it, right?
Right.
Anyway, all right. So let me bring on the other gentleman. I don't know if he's ready, but he kind of came in sideways. So welcome to the show, RJ.
I'm ready, spaghetti.
Hey,
ready?
what's up, RJ?
All right.
I'm having some camera issues, but I'm ready, spaghetti.
No problem.
I had mic issues, so I don't know. I had some issues. Everyone has some technical issue today. It's all
we all got issues.
Yeah. We're publishing issues. We have issues.
Well,
that's right.
Technical issues and other issues.
Right.
That we'll find out which ones are going to rule the day. But anyway, so thank you guys for coming. I believe I proposed this one because RJ and Jared both kind of went head to head in the character kind of like throwdown that they've got going on right now.
The Battle Bowl.
We got it on.
Bowl.
Yeah.
We got it on in manly fashion.
Yeah. You two went down to the last day.
I think a single vote. I think it was a single vote.
Yeah, I think there was one. Yeah, because I looked at that percentage.
Like
actually, we talked about wanting to do this a stream, just kind of talk about that a little bit, and then you came to us with this one, which is perfect. So I'm really happy to be here as part of that. So that's great.
My thumbnail I did with Mid Journey, I just said super soldiers and representing different countries, and it came up with these cool designs, and I was like, actually, I'm gonna steal these guys.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
Nice.
We're in the world of AI now.
He's the UN super soldier.
There you go.
Mm, yeah.
Captain Earth. He's not Captain.
Well,
Planet.
I actually have a guy named Global Man.
Nice.
Global Man. Okay.
Yeah, Global Man. He's actually an artificial being, and he's kind of like the world's Superman, but he kind of like. He obeys the orders of America, but at times he kind of does his own thing, and they're not really sure who's entirely in control of him.
That's because he's globalist, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh man, his arch enemy is Alex Jones. Oh no.
Well, imagine the T2, from Terminator 2. And mix him with Superman, and that's kind of like Global Man. So he's
horrifying if he's not on your side.
Yeah. Pretty much bad news. It's pretty bad news. Yeah. Anyway. So we're talking about super soldiers today, and super soldiers are kind of a unique concept, and you see them all over fiction, and a lot of future sci-fi have them, such as RJ's, call sign Orion. Because Orion is a super soldier, I believe, isn't that right?
That's correct.
Right. And so he's like, basically, he was bred for it, if I'm correct.
He was given this gift
Right.
This sort of Promethean gift, I suppose, of the super
Yeah.
soldier gift. No, he was chosen much like Captain America. So I think Orion is kind of like a combination of Steve Rogers and Xander Cage. You know, he's a little Captain America, a little Triple X.
Nice.
Because he's actually a big misfit on his planet, but his planet is a dystopian hellscape. So being a misfit on that planet's kind of a good thing.
That seems okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want to fit in there.
Let me go ahead and play this clip. This is one Jared wanted me to play. I think it fits right here. So
This is why you were chosen. Because a strong man who has known power all his life may lose respect for that power, but a weak man knows the value of strength and knows compassion.
Thanks. I think.
Whatever happens tomorrow, you must promise me one thing. That you will stay who you are. Not a perfect soldier, but a good man.
To the little guys.
No, wait, what I am doing. No, you have a procedure tomorrow. No fluids.
All right, we'll drink it after.
No, I don't have a procedure tomorrow. Drink it after, drink it now.
Drink it after, drink it now.
I love the ending to that. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, Steve Rogers, you know, he's got these noble beginnings, this noble origin as Captain America. Orion's origin isn't quite so noble. That's where like the Xander Cage part comes in, I think.
Right.
He was chosen for his abilities that are perhaps less noble, but they're abilities he had to develop in prison for being like a criminal for like essentially thought crimes and doing basically misdemeanors that became felonies because it's, like I said, Earth at this point is a dystopian hellscape. So
he's a super soldier that was kind of like involuntarily press ganged into it, right?
He wasn't involved. He was a prisoner already, so he kind of like weighed his options. He's like, well, this is the best thing,
right?
You know, like I've worked alongside like people who are like firefighters who were prisoners before. You know, they're on the convict crews on wildfires. Yeah, they're like, this really beats being in a cell.
There you go. I've heard of those programs that that prisoners can. We had a local jail, and they had it was kind of styled a program that was styled after a boot camp, and it really was useful. It really benefited those young men, gave them some discipline and things like that. And they treated it exactly like a boot camp, except they were technically prisoners, and it had a very high success rate. So of course the next Democrat governor that came in, he killed it. So
I've heard of it's so funny because I did this in California, but also Colorado, both blue states now.
Right.
Colorado was kind of turning blue when I moved out here. They followed me. Is what happened.
You're a curse. You're a
just
curse.
when I think I'm out, it keeps pulling me back in.
It's pulling me back in, right?
But it's a very successful program. I've talked to guys who've done it, many, and they all obviously enjoy it. They chose it. They all say it beats a cell. Like you said, gives them discipline, gives them something to do, gets them outside, they eat well, gives a sense of purpose, gives them all that. And I've heard, it's always Democrats like, oh, this is a terrible program, like indentured service. Like, no, they were already locked up, and this is an opportunity to not be locked up.
Well, it's weird because they talk about rehabilitation all the time, but but as soon as a real true rehabilitation comes in, they kill it, and because what they want is they don't want rehabilitation, they want somebody to be dependent on them,
right?
And if you rehabilitate somebody, they're no longer dependent on the government or on the state, and that's really the insidiousness of the compassionate party. I just have
Stop
to say.
predicting my book. Just kidding.
Sorry.
Just kidding.
Well, well, my character is actually, he isn't a super soldier. He's just a who kind of got his powers. He just chose to use them in service of his country, so he's not really a super soldier per se.
Yeah, he's a superhero
but,
who works.
You know,
for
we talk
America.
about super soldiers. We're really talking about. Yeah, exactly. He worked. It's kind of like they wrote him into the Constitution, so he became his own branch of government, basically.
Oh, wow, that's
which
cool,
is the reason why somebody ambushed him, and then he wasn't even out of the hospital, and suddenly this new, amendment to the Constitution showed up that took away his mandate, just out of nowhere. Just randomly. Everybody was so scared by his, being damaged to retirement, and so they're like, oh, our protection's gone. We no longer are protected against all these powered people. And so it's like, well, we have this amendment to the Constitution that will create this new federal agency that is going to take care of this. Oh, yes, we need safety. Because that doesn't ever happen in real life, does it? It never happens in real life.
Right.
Homeland Security. Anyway. That's it. I'm sorry. I got something in my throat. Anyway. All right. But one thing about like super soldiers or whatever, super soldiers, you kind of get into some.
Oh, Dave freezing.
Questionable, like technology along those lines. So let me play this clip here that kind of explains what I'm talking about here.
Human enhancement technologies are being researched into ways in which we can change the very nature of us as humans, and this has important impacts on soldiers and the ways in which we fight wars. As examples of technologies that are being researched at the moment, exoskeletons and prosthetics. These involve adding mechanical means or new limbs to amputees and others to increase their strength and endurance, such as the Tactical Assault Light Operator suit. We have cognitive enhancements. These involve pharmaceuticals, brain stimulation, electronic brain stimulation, and other means to reduce the need for sleep and increase the capacity to operate under stress. There's also some interest in changing nutrition and eating. Some of the more extreme examples of this are changing someone's stomach so that they can digest cellulose, which means that soldiers can eat grass. In terms of enhancement and ethics, there's been a lot of ethical interest in enhancement for a while. Some of the general concerns that people have around enhancement are changing our very nature as humans. If we enhance ourselves such that we're no longer the same as we are now, are we still human? This has an important potential impact in terms of warfare and military practice, because if our enemies see us as no longer human, then they might be treating us quite differently. For instance, if you see someone in an exoskeleton coming to attack you, you might not think of them as human, and you might not afford them the normal concern that one gives to a soldier in war. Another set of concerns come from informed consent, where we worry about whether the subject of research or the receiver of enhancement can effectively give consent to this. This is particularly interesting or relevant in the military context because militaries have hierarchical command structures and soldiers are told to follow commands quite often without the need to question those commands. Another more important or more relevant set of concerns around enhancement in the military context build off the notion of enhancing someone's cognition and then their capacity to follow the laws of armed conflict. Because if you change the way someone thinks, this can also change the way in which they follow or how they follow the laws of armed conflict, and this is of course quite important. If we look at the history of enhancement, it goes back a long way. the use of nutrition and training to increase the capacity to win a war. More recently, we can see the use of amphetamines during World War II and after that to give soldiers the capacity to fight, days on end, for pilots to fly long flights. The final thing to say is this is not necessarily a new concern. We've got worries about the way in which soldiers are treated generally, humanitarian concerns about soldiers and civilians. What these new enhancement technologies do is shine a new light on these existing concerns and also force us to think about the ways in which we use new technologies and the research conducted around them.
That's crazy. It's interesting and also scary to see all the stuff that exists in my comic book universe already starting to take shape.
What do you think about that, guys?
It's nuts. Like
I find it nightmarishly horrifying.
It's horrifying. It's interesting to me because like all this stuff exists in my comic book.
Yeah,
but my comic book takes place 1,000 years in the future, but starting now. And that's interesting and scary. Like I have a thing like how in Foundation they have Encyclopedia Galactica, and on my Substack just to interact with my mailing list subscribers, I put out.
Let me point out that this stuff has already been going on. Sorry, my internet just suddenly dumped. Hold on a second.
Well, this is a decade old.
Hopefully,
almost,
I'm not roboting right now.
That's crazy.
So there's no telling what's changed in a decade.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he didn't even know about AI when that clip came out.
This is like seeing the first like Terminators, like prototypes, and then my comic book, they're fully formed Terminators in the future.
Well, it's weird because like it's not just shows or movies or comics, but it's like, there have been, like, if you played Metal Gear Solid 2, you saw how speech was predicted and how speech would be treated in Metal Gear Solid 2. And then when you play stuff like Deus Ex, there's a line that Adam Jensen has in the sequels when he gets his augmentations. He says, "I didn't ask for this." He didn't ask for this. It does make him a weapon, and it does bring to mind questions of what is humanity and how far on that scale do you have to go before humanity stops and you become something else entirely. And Deus Ex 1 dealt with this better than its sequels, but it dealt with the aspect of merging AI with human consciousness. And in particular, the antagonists of the game wanted to declare himself God because he effectively he was omniscient at that point. And then, so when you see stuff like this, and you hear people at like Google AI and all these other companies talking about how once we have the perfect AI, we won't need God anymore because the AI can be God. Like, you're just like, okay, is Warren Spector from the future? Is Hideo Kojima from the future? What are they trying to warn us? What is this? I prefer my science fiction to stay fiction in some instances.
Yeah, it's scary to see this stuff happening. That also looked like kind of like a World Economic Forum video, which is perfect.
Yes, it did.
UN soldier. He's literally a UN soldier, but there's a global government at that point.
Well, you know what the secret of Blitzkrieg was, right?
I don't think that I do. I always thought it was just overwhelming them with speed, right?
Yeah, they were berserkers, is what you're getting at.
Yeah, but when you say speed, I mean pharmaceutical speed.
Yeah, actual speed. Like he was talking about amphetamines in World War II.
Isn't that horrifying that they're just like, let's just give them horrifying drugs to make them better at killing other human beings.
Yeah.
Jesus.
But I mean,
that's
Vikings did
awful
that.
to think about.
The idea of a berserker, that's something Vikings did, and Norse people did. For going way back, so it's an old concept. We're just getting better at it, and it's getting scary.
There was this Finnish guy, and he was trying to they were trying to run from the advancing Germans, and he was like trying to clear a trail for everybody behind him, but he was like almost at exhaustion. It's a true story. A fat electrician told a version of it, but he they had some German supplies from some that had stolen, and inside those supplies were methamphetamine that the Germans were using, and well, he needed the boost to like break the trail for the people behind him, to stay ahead of the Germans, and so in desperation, he kind of dumped it out into his palm, but it all frozen together.
Ooh.
And well, it and he just like, I've got no choice, and so he gulped down the whole entire thing. But it was medicinal grade methamphetamine.
So the Super
And so
Troopers
for
version of
two-
like methamphetamine, just eat it all, man.
Yeah.
Wow.
Right. And so for 2 weeks, this guy was buzzing all across the countryside, and he was seeing all these visions of what he was seeing and everything. And when he finally like collapsed, and that somebody found him, and they brought him back, and they're telling, he was like, what happened to you, man? Because we were hearing all these stories of this guy like buzzing the Germans, like going right through their camps and stuff like that. And he became legendary because they're like, this crazy guy is buzzing the Germans. He's like flown right through the camp, chasing him. You can't catch him. And he didn't remember any of it. He just remembered these visions that he was having, right? And but that's like there's several stories. Just look it up. Finnish soldier methamphetamine, and it's like this crazy madcap, like Looney Tunes sounding story, but it actually happened. But he took enough medicinal grade. And the thing about it, he lived to be in his like 80s, by the way, so it didn't damage him. Of course, Finns are another breed anyway. Look up White Death sometime.
Just watch
but,
hockey.
And yeah, there you go. But anyway, but when you talk about that's like one example, pharmaceutical super soldier, right? But I will say that America right now has the super soldier formula, probably the best one in the world, and they're called Tier 1 operators. Okay. The rest of the world lives in terror of our Tier 1 operators. The Navy SEALs, the STS, the Delta Force. There's a couple other ones that are considered Tier 1s that you haven't heard about. They're more obscure.
That's interesting to think about, though, because you look at the Tier 1 operators, and it's like I have such a hard time understanding what the country is trying to do. I feel like America is torn in two directions that are trying to like do completely opposite things. So on the one hand, you have Tier 1 operators, and they are a force to be terrified of, and they are capable of causing turmoil in countries. They're undercover. They can kill whoever. Then you have pronoun training videos in the Navy, and I don't understand how these things coexist.
Let me explain as someone who works in government.
Please, thank you.
Go ahead.
You have the line people who, as much as government cares about efficiency because they're on the line doing the job. And then you have the command staff, and they're run by the political animals who just want to promote, and they don't care what it costs. And a lot of these people are really good at taking the pulse, checking, knowing what the weather forecast politically, and what the zeitgeist of their agency and the politics of the day is going to be, and they capitalize on that. And I think Milley and a lot of people who were like rising through the ranks of the military around the COVID lockdowns, they were the people who were all about the pronoun stuff, not because they believed in it, but because they knew it.
Very few people really believe in it.
Oh yeah, and I find people who benefit from that stuff typically don't believe in it, but they're going to push it anyway.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But then you got your average Marine jarhead who's only in for 8 years just wants to kill the enemy.
Right.
But when you think about it, you think about like people like the Marine snipers, like Carlos Hathcock, or you think about somebody like Audie Murphy. people who do things that sound ridiculous. You know, the Spartans, the 300 Spartans of Thermopylae. You know, there's a lot of legends kind of up around them, but the Spartan fighting force could be considered super soldiers, and it all has to do with the intense focus of their training. You know, you can take any normal. Go ahead.
Oh, in the last this won't give away too much, but the last fire academy I was in, we had this instructor who is an ex-Navy SEAL. He lost a lung, and he's like in his 50s. He'd manage our PT, and he was running laps around dudes in their 20s,
Wow.
like in his 50s with one lung. Some of these guys really are super soldiers.
Yeah.
That's unreal.
Yeah. Vining, who's one of the original Delta Force. The guy looked like he would do your taxes, but he's like basically he has a body count like you wouldn't believe. He was like the munitions specialist for Delta Force for decades. Starting back in the Vietnam War and moving all the way up to the mid 80s, I think is when he retired. But he's like legendary, and the guy looks like an accountant. Okay. But you see, there's like a picture of him out there, and he's got like a gun, and you're like, the dude that looks like he could do your taxes, and is like, people were like, it lived in terror that he was like in the theater, you know, and people like that, you know, but it's like that, you know, what we're talking about is like when we're going into the future, talking about enhancing soldiers and things like that. But one thing about, you know, Captain America that makes him so compelling was that they took a guy who with the body of a lamb and the heart of a lion and helped the body match the heart that he had in him, which is what made him so powerful, was the fact that he remembered what it was like to be powerless. And so he never lost the perspective, you know, and that's what made him like such a compelling character. Is you know, he's you know, he could have ended his life, you know, as an ordinary citizen who just happened to be more scrappy than other people. And yet he was plucked, and he was like given the body that matched his determination. And
so
so
this is why the character is so important, because like that's why people get defensive. I don't want to say defensive, protective maybe, but like when people are like mad about someone changing and making Captain America into Captain Falcon, or making Spider-Man into Miles Morales, it's not because I mean, some of the characters are bad, don't get me wrong, but it's not really even about the quality of the replacement. It's that the replacement doesn't have the defining characteristics of the person that they're replacing. Sam Wilson is a great character, but he does not have the history that Steve Rogers has. Miles Morales is a great character by some accounts, but he's not Peter Parker. And Peter Parker, who has Uncle Ben, who has Aunt May, who has Gwen Stacy's death, who has all of this that built him up into the character that he is, the legendary character that he is. Same with Steve Rogers. The replacements are inadequate because they don't have that backstory. What makes Steve unique is what makes him Steve, what makes him Captain America. And so you can't just take someone and just like, and I would say this for anyone, U.S. Agent, Sam Wilson, whoever, even Bucky. I like Bucky, but Bucky's story is not the same thing as Steve's. So they're
but
not.
He would have made
character.
such a good Captain America.
Hey, he would have. He would have, but he's still not Steve. Is my
He's not Steve though. He's not Steve
ultimately.
Yeah.
Well, you know, one thing about U.S. Agent, and I'm talking about the comic book and the you know, John Walker from the movies.
John Walker did nothing wrong.
He did nothing wrong, no. But the thing about it was that when he got the shield, he like believed himself worthy of it, and the shield became like, there was a cockiness that came with that. There was like a overconfidence that came with that, and the same in the comic book happened in the comic. He got the shield in the comic, and he just couldn't be Steve because there's only one Steve Rogers,
right?
And because of that, he made mistakes that got people killed, got people important to him killed. Same in the comics, the same in the movie. And it was enough to make him realize that even though he was handed the shield, he wasn't worthy of it, and it became a part of him wanting to be worthy of it, and that's pretty much John Walker's arc, is that he kind of like was handed something that he didn't earn, and then he gave it back and gave it up because he realized that I need to earn it. And so
what do you guys think about
he's spending the rest of his time
the ethics of super soldiers? Because I think that depending on the universe, you can get into some interesting questions about. I think I think Steve Rogers is pretty much an ethical super soldier in the sense that he was aware of what happened to him. He consented to it.
Well, what about RoboCop?
I think with the important thing with Steve is that he's still who he is, right? Like he's still Steve. He's still the man that was Steve Rogers, is the same, just with a better body, right? But if you look at Halo and what happened with John, like the Spartan 2s are horrifically unethical.
Right.
And then by comparison, the thing that a lot of people say that they're based off of, the Adeptus Astartes, Space Marines from Warhammer.
That's what I was thinking of with that video too.
Right?
Like, are they human?
So they're now, so then I think that, so you've got Steve ethical, you've got John unethical, and then you have the Space Marines. And so I think they're in this weird kind of gray area because on the one hand, the stuff that happens to them is probably really unethical, but because they are so completely indoctrinated into the Empire and the Imperial mindset, they unequivocally consent to it 100%. They go through everything that they need to become the best weapon they can for the Emperor. So where do you guys think that they fall on the ethical scale, like as far as like between those two extremes? I'm curious what you think.
Like just in general?
Yeah, like you think that the Space Marines are lean more unethical or more ethical compared to like Steve or
unethical.
Spartan 2s?
Well, I think it all depends on what it always depends. What you profess is not as important as what you do, and there's a lot of people that profess to be righteous and do horrific things.
That's true.
They always throw the Crusades in their face because those guys were professing righteousness and doing horrific things, and it's kind of like, dude, that was a couple like centuries ago. So maybe don't extrapolate modern Christianity with that.
No, it's completely related. The Baptist having potlucks in 2025, it's the exact same as
that's the same as raising
Crusades.
Morocco to the ground.
Yeah, it's fine. It's all fine.
Exact same thing.
Yeah.
But the thing about it is though is like something like RoboCop. Okay. Alex was like put into this machine, after he was like shot to death. Yeah. And but what did they do? They erased who he was to kind of like put him in this machine. And yet he didn't really become RoboCop until after he came back to himself and had got his personality back. Yeah. But then when they tried to replicate it in RoboCop 2, the people kept killing themselves, suiciding themselves, because they didn't have his sense of duty that made him RoboCop. And it's like, and you see this over and over again, all over, like in fiction and in reality. It's like you can train somebody or alter their body or give them like give them something that makes them better than an ordinary human.
Yeah.
But you can't replicate the humanity. Either they have it or they don't. And ultimately, that's the difference between a hero and a villain, is the humanity, And and you see this echo over and over again, or people are awarded or given like advanced technology or chemistry or something that, even cloning or something like that. And then what separates them from being the bad guy, like Universal Soldier. Remember Universal Soldier? Dolph Lundgren's guy, he was a bad guy. He was a bad guy. Okay. He had like a necklace of human ears. Okay. Bad guy. All right. Yeah. And yet, Van Damme's character, was the good guy because he held on to his humanity, even though he was given all these enhancements, because he was a good guy at the first. And he maintained that. And so ultimately, the super soldier thing, okay, a governmental apparatus awards you like with whatever it takes to make you superhuman, to basically get be the means to their end. But ultimately, do they maintain the humanity? Do they maintain their choice? And that usually winds up being what makes them either hero or villain. And that's a lot of compelling possibilities if you're going to write a super soldier. I mean,
yeah, Marvel does
ground,
it.
Man.
Marvel does it with like kind of in a visual way too, of like showing that, like with Abomination, with Hulk, compared to Steve Rogers.
Yeah.
Steve Rogers just looks like kind of the ideal human, because that's sort of what he represents. He's sort of like Superman, but totally human. Whereas the Hulk is like, he's like kind of almost the guy. Like I think of like if like in the Snyder verse, Superman was kind of like more of a sort of a Christ-like figure. And like, I guess you could, if you're going to say Steve Rogers was that, then the Hulk is kind of like maybe David. I don't know. It's like almost that guy, but not quite that guy. Then you have like someone who's even less of that guy, like Abomination, who like had no chance.
Well, look at all the things in that like happened in the Marvel universe from people trying to recreate Captain America. I mean, the Hulk is basically a creation of them trying to recreate the super soldier serum. Red Hulk, the latest movie was them trying to replicate the super soldier serum. And the bottom line is that what made Captain America was not the serum. It was the scrawny little Brooklynite who could do it all day.
That's reflected in Incredible Hulk. When you look at, what does Blonsky do with the power? What has he done his whole life with this power, and what does he want it for? And you look at someone like Banner, who Banner is a nerd. Banner did not have power. And then he goes from that to having supreme uncontrollable power. And he doesn't want it because it's not something that he like sees it as a curse. And that's really kind of the beauty of super soldiers in fiction, in that you can explore pretty much anything that you want. You can look at social commentary. You can talk about what it means to be a soldier. You can look at war. You can look at after the war. You can look at, the dynamics of power and people who have it and don't have it. And it's really sort of this perfect sandbox that you can put into any type of fiction. You can put it into science fiction, superheroes. You can put it into modern day with just a little bit of a futuristic twist. And that's really, I think, why people like us enjoy it so much, because you can kind of do whatever you want.
Yep. Well, one thing about Hulk is that you saw this in the television series, probably best example of it. But even though he was transformed into this monster, there was still the core humanity there, in that he still protected. He still didn't go too far. You know, there were times where he would like actually pick up an animal and like hold it in his hands gently, you know, and you know, to calm, he would calm down, but ultimately you see it all the time where he did something heroic, even though he's supposed to be a raving rage monster. He would do something heroic. He would protect, or he would fight somebody that a creature that was just a living id wouldn't do. You know, he wouldn't fight something stronger than himself to protect other people unless there was a humanity there. And that's one of the compelling things about Incredible Hulk is that even go ahead.
No, I'm going to say to your point perfectly. And since it's relevant to the three of us, since eventually I'm going to get off my ass and we'll do that Hulk stream, but in the Hulk, Incredible Hulk movie, there's two instances in particular that really stands out as far as like demonstrating exactly what you're talking about and echoing what you saw from the series. When he protects Betty from the airstrike that Ross did not realize had been called down when she was in the hot zone. And then this doesn't get mentioned, but the Hulk's restraint, he does not kill Blonsky. When Blonsky shoots him, challenges him directly, when he's already pissed off, Hulk could have ripped him in half. He didn't. He almost killed him, but he didn't kill him. So the Hulk's actually merciful to an extent, you know, and that's, I mean, I think that's a great example of what you're talking about.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep. So,
yep. Freezing again.
What
we're talking about now.
Ultimately, character is compelling.
Yeah,
I'm frozen. I'm freezing.
One
of the things that makes it compelling.
You came back into real time as you made finished your point.
Well, yeah. One of the things that makes it compelling, though, is that is ultimately is that even with their enhancement, even if they're a governmental project, is that free will. Ultimately, they have free will.
Yep.
You know, so they can either go along with the government or what the government's telling them to do. I mean, one thing about Captain America that like makes Winter Soldier such a good movie in particular is like he was like being an obedient soldier. You know, he was, you know, doing what they told him to do. You know, he did the ship. You know, he went to the ship and he did what they told him to do on the ship. But then he's like, okay, something else is going on here, and I don't like the fact I don't know. And then when he showed him, it's like, hey, we're going to protect everybody with this. And he's like, this is not freedom. This is not protection. This is a bad idea.
This isn't freedom. This is fear.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And even during the Civil War, when he and when Tony's like, just sign it, just sign on the Accords.
Yeah.
And Captain America's like, yeah, but if we do that, then somebody else could be in charge someday, telling us to do something bad, and I am not going to sign on to lose my ability to say no. And that's what the whole Civil War was about.
It's funny,
like,
if you look at the Civil War in the movies and the motivation behind it, you can actually take the principles that Steve stands on and you can apply them in reverse towards Civil War II, the comic event, aka Carol's War, where she's doing Minority Report kind of stuff, and she's like, this person has a mutant power, and they told me this person will commit a crime, so I'm going to go ahead and proactively jail them. That's like the exact thing that Steve is talking about with the helicarriers and Winter Soldier. And so you can take the principles that he stands on and you can apply them to, see, that's the thing. it's a very clear, like Civil War II was a failure because it wasn't really muddy the way that you could see the perspective of Iron Man, you could see the perspective of Captain America in both the comic Civil War and in the movie Civil War. But in Civil War II, the comic event, there's no ambiguity. Carol is wrong. She's just wrong. You cannot arrest someone for future crimes. It's not a thing. They have to pull the trigger before you can arrest them. So you can take Steve's principles. My point being, you can take Steve's principles, apply them to that, and say, "Oh, she's just evil," because Steve was making a morally righteous point when he was correct to do against the Fury and against Shield, and so that's applicable in other situations, and it helps you kind of figure out, oh, okay, no, Cap's just right.
Yeah, and it's funny because, like, to your point. It's funny how like they did such a good job of illustrating real life issues in those movies.
Yeah,
in Winter Soldier and Civil War, and it was after one of those came out. I remember HuffPost came out with an article with the headline, "Captain America's a douchey libertarian now."
Yes, I remember
like,
that.
That was literally the
I
headline.
knew you were going to say that. I knew you were going to reference that. When I remember
this is
that
real
article.
life. Like it's not even parody. You know, unfortunately, like this is real life.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's kind of what I was getting at. With, like,
these are the same people that are like, take the vax and protect
Yeah.
grandma. The same people.
Yeah, just trust the science. But yeah, this is kind of what I was getting at in my fiction with, like, the Earth at this point is a dystopian hellscape, and it's also an aggressive, like, Soviet Union kind of.
So it's set during modern times.
Yeah, modern times, exactly.
Okay.
And
there you go.
Now, unfortunately, I just took stuff that's already going on and fast forwarded, like, what if this stuff keeps happening? And, we don't all, like, disappear. Like, if we're still around and technology progresses, it's just kind of like my own fun predictions. But yeah, Earth is like an aggressive Soviet Union, global government, Brave New World type of dystopia. And then, like, my version of Captain America is kind of like sort of a little Xander Cage, like a criminal, but not really.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's so much, like, censorship and, like, so many of the same issues, but it's real life stuff that some people, I don't know, don't see because of ideology, but it's the stuff we're living.
Yeah.
Well, like in my the plot to community service is that he's coming out of retirement after 50 years of being behind a desk job, and he's kind of like told himself that he was like working for the benefit of the country, and yet he's faced with the fact that his inactivity, his being buried, about them having him buried for all that time, that they basically turned, like, the people that he used to protect into second-class citizens and as wards of the state, and he's kind of like faced with the fact of his failure, that he's let this happen, because that's why they got rid of him, is because he was preventing powered people from becoming like weapons in the arm of the government, and so he's basically faced with this flashpoint to where these people are going to basically be used to kick off the next, just like his ambush made people scared enough that they, like, did the amendment that took his mandate away and created the FERA and the federal organization, and basically made his people like wards of the state. But now they want to take it to the next level, and the way they're going to do that is they're going to, like, they've created this kill box and they've stuck these people in it. They're just going to be basically, they're basically in there for like, okay, look what happened to these people, accept these changes that are coming, and give up another bit of your freedom for this new change that's about to happen. and so he's like, I can't let this happen again, and I will die before I let this happen again. And so ultimately, that's kind of like that moment. You always have that moment because they think he's dead, and so he can walk away from the whole thing. And yet, here he is. He's stepping into the gap, and I can't walk away from this. I can't, even though it's official capacity anymore, even though it makes me enemy of the state, I can't walk away from this. And ultimately, that's what makes a hero, is intervening when you have absolutely no benefit. There's no benefit to you whatsoever. And where you start out is not as important as where you end up. Is what you choose to do with this.
Mm-hmm.
Think about these super soldiers.
I think one of the things,
start out with the governmental mandate, but go ahead.
Well, kind of like what we were talking about earlier, when you have situations like Alex Murphy, or you have people like, John 117. There's a line, and I know Nicolas Cage Ghost Rider, but there's a line in the Nicolas Cage Ghost Rider film where he points at the devil and he says, I'm gonna use this curse. I'm gonna use it to stop you. And that's like that attitude where when you have a situation where a super soldier has been used or created unethically, they can, through the story that, however you want to tell the story, you can tell a story about someone who overcomes the unethical treatment and they rise above to represent something that is inherently human and inherently, good, and choose to reject whatever the intentions were of the people who made them and what they are, and make it still themselves and be what they want to stand for, and standing for something like Alex Murphy, who stands for justice and wants to get justice against the company that did wrong to him and against the people of Detroit. Again, it kind of goes back to what we were saying about how you got this wonderful sandbox, and that's just one of the great ways that you can explore it. And Ironsides is kind of an example of that, where he doesn't have like a curse, but he has an opportunity to just take the exit, and he doesn't. And that's right. Why he is someone that's worth reading a story about, because he's someone who chooses to do something that we want to be able to say, yeah, I would do that. And whether we can or can't, we all want to be able to say that. And stories like that help us to feel motivated and believe in doing that and taking that right stand when we can.
Well said.
Thank you.
That's going to be the highlight reel.
That's a short right there. Yeah. Clip it.
Absolutely. Well,
sorry, I had to jump off for a sec there. I came on in the middle of that.
So thank you guys for coming and having this conversation.
Always a pleasure, my friend.
I still think we should do like
thank you guys for coming today. In the description, I have the Frost Comics. I've got his link to all of his sundry
physical prints coming soon to funmycomic.com. Check it out.
Check out
Yes.
Yeah. Somehow you got the W against Orion.
That's right.
I was gonna say I think we should do like an animation or something. Like
I stick by what I said in the tail of the tape. I still think Orion gets the victory, but I will graciously accept the W, because that was an awesome close contest. So,
well, you know what Stan Lee said, like, who would win? It's whoever the writer wants to win.
That's true. We'll just say that it was a ghost story, and that's how he happened to get the win.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying it's impossible. Ghost could win. It'd be fun to see.
I thought about it, and I came up with a plausible enough explanation that kind of relates to when Iron Man fought Kang, Kang, Iron Man discovered that some of the code that Kang ran actually was Stark Tech code. And so he was able to find a backdoor into Kang's technology. And I thought, well, maybe that's how. Maybe there's some way using the like the NFC radios, he could kind of get into some technology, and that'd give him enough of an opening to.
That's plausible if you could like hack Orion's suit, because like he has a suit it's controlled by the user's brain, but like he could fly his ship around, like be his own airstrike with a suit, and like if you could hack into that technology, you could probably mess him up pretty bad.
Yeah.
Like
I think that's about the only like the little escape that he's got, and otherwise a pretty dominant beatdown.
That'd be crazy if his own ship was used as an airstrike against him.
That would be nuts. Yeah.
But you know how they did superpower beatdown?
Yeah.
We should just do that with our characters.
Yes,
Yeah.
that would be great.
There you go.
Good stuff.
Well, fortunately, I didn't really have a challenge this time out.
Right.
I can't. But I'm hoping I don't get.
See you in the
ghost
finals,
next
buddy.
round,
Right.
Yeah, gravity manipulated with a a glass arm that's impenetrable. I mean,
We'll see how lucky Ghost keeps getting here.
there you go. You'll probably get like the talking shrimp next round.
No, the way, here's my plan. If we get to the finals, Ghost's plan is to just outlive Ironsides. He's just gonna hide and let the years catch up.
Yeah, I don't know. He's 200 years old. You might have a chance.
I'm not saying it's a good strategy, but it's the only one he's got. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I do have to say some of these matchups aren't exactly fair. I would say that. I would say that.
Oh man.
But it is what it is. But anyway, that's been it's just always fun to get some guys you respect together and talk about, kick around a topic. That's always fun. And
absolutely.
Remember, Gen X Files is from the perspective of those who were there when it was written, and
right.
Because all the best pop culture was written for us, and we were there. We were there.
Don't quote the Deep Lore to us, witch. We were there.
No, don't quote it. We were there, and that's why mainstream hates us so bad. They hate Gen X more than anybody because we remember the deep magic. We remember it.
Stop caring about all this nerd stuff, you nerds. Never.
Never.
Definition of a nerd.
Never.
I care about the nerd stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the air that we breathe, man. That's what we were weaned on, So anyway, so thank you all for coming. We had like 32 eyeballs, and
hey,
so
cool.
Make sure you check these projects out. Frost Comics, he's got a free downloadable comic, and if you want a hard copy, he's printing those out.
Right.
Are you also you adding Super Guy?
Oh yeah, we're gonna have if you want a physical print. You can get a physical print of the Super Guy Ashcan and Morningstar Chronicles #1. I'm going to have them both on Fund My Comic. The Morningstar Chronicles #1 should be available sooner, but Super Guy I'm putting together I'm actually putting it together, the Ashcan now. So I'm just getting everything together with that, getting a cover made by the interior artist, Ibai Canales. I probably butchered your name. I'm sorry. But he's working on a cover, and that guy, that cool guy who draws the cool pictures. And so you'll be able to get both, and I'll have bundles and all sorts of good stuff. So just follow me on X, follow Bunny on X, follow RJ, follow all of us. Follow us on X. Somebody will talk about it at some point, and you'll be able to get yourself a physical print.
There you go.
And check out FMC. That's where all the cool people are. That's where all the cool
That's
kids are right now.
That's right.
And we are FMC is inevitable.
That's right.
When you see all the goodies that they're about to launch later this year, all of every advantage that Indiegogo had over FMC is about to go bye-bye. Everything that you said, I wish FMC had this, but I would go to to tomorrow. Get away from freaking Indiegogo and all the censorious shadow banning. Tip $11 tip that's like the baseline and all the
Oh my lord, I've had to
all the crap
cancel orders
that
for that
pulling.
crap.
All
So
the crap that
irritating.
they're pulling right now, and Kickstarter, just
I wish I could give them a
some blue hair
negative tip.
tomorrow
If I could enter
might-
minus $5 to take from them and give to the
Seriously.
creator, I'd do that.
Seriously. But get away from Kickstarter is just out of the blue. We took your campaign down because somebody got butt hurt. Sorry. It is what it is. I really honestly think that that's the reason why they don't give you the money till the end of the campaign. That's why they don't take it out, so they don't have to refund when they cancel somebody's campaign out of the blue.
know.
But FMC is about to get every cool feature that Indiegogo has, and there will be no more. There will be no complaining to use FMC. There'll be no step down to use FMC. Plus, you got humans you can talk to.
That's a plus.
Which should go a long way.
Yeah,
it's always a plus. Considering that this stupid website still won't let me know why they took my freaking stream down Saturday night, and now you can watch it its entirety with no breaks. So if it was bad enough you had to take my stream down Saturday night, why can you watch it now with no breaks?
Don't ask questions.
Can I get that?
It's your
Nope.
product.
I can't get anybody human to tell me why that is. Nobody human's available to me.
You don't need to worry about
that's
that.
why
You don't need to worry
FMC is
about that.
important.
Come on now.
Yeah,
It's fine.
Anyway.
Everything's fine.
Rant over. All right.
FMC is where it's at, though.
That's right. Go to FMC.
Everything's fine.
Funmycomic.com.
Yeah, there you go. All right. But thank you guys. Funmycomic.com. Yes. But thank you all for coming, and we will see you next week, Gen X Files. I think this Thursday, in the character autopsy, is going to be the Spirit, Denny Colt.
Ooh,
the Spirit.
that's an interesting one.
Yeah. Since I did Rorschach last week, and I did a poll, and the Spirit won hands down in the poll, the best noir comic character of all time. And so I'm gonna do Denny Colt this Thursday. And
Nice.
I hope to see you guys there when the drawer comes out and the dissection begins. FMC, absolutely. Anyway,
Are you certified for that?
we will see you then. And
Just kidding.
I am a certified character coroner. Yes.
Okay. I mean, when they're already dead, it's fine.
Self-certification.
Right. Yeah.
Hey, it's already dead. What am I gonna do? Right?
Yeah,
What can you
really mess it
possibly
up?
do? Right, yeah, it's fine.
I don't know. There you go. I'm just gonna do a little
fine.
dissection. That's what's a little dissection among friends, right? It happens.
Yeah.
Anyway. All right. I'm not gonna play any weird music and dance around in human skin or anything. All right, so y'all. That's weekend stuff. All right.
Right, yeah.
Anyway,
That's cryptids and conspiracies show stuff. That's
there
not
you
Gen
go,
X
there
stuff.
you go.
Yeah.
Not Gen X Files. No. All right. Well, thank you guys. You all have a good weekend, and I'm sorry. Have a good week. We're at
Monday. Have a
so
good week, everyone.
Have a good week, and we'll see you next time.
Take it easy. Bye.
Follow White Rabbit. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.